At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Welcome to the Author Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Doug Crow. You're going to want to take notes, and if you don't, go ahead, just click below here. You can get the notes and summary from our show when it's all completed. And I'm very excited about our guest today, man. I've known this gentleman for a number of years, and we share some similar values on the topic today, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Before I do, understand this guy he's been ranked the #1 sales training by a global guru. He's been doing it for over 6 years. He's been selling for his whole life, of course. But his style and what we're going to cover today is something you want to pay attention to, regardless if you're in sales or not. No matter what you do, you're always selling something, whether it's an idea, a product, service, yourself. So without further ado, welcome to the show today, Mr. Joe Pici. Joe, how are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me, Doug. It's great to be here.
Glad to have you. And we always like to start off the show with some reason to keep people around for a few minutes. And we talked before the show about something which is a little bit controversial, which is not ditching the email, LinkedIn thing, but focusing on something that people find maybe painful if they don't have any gray hair like us. And that's using the phone. Using the phone, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things we do in our training is we do live outbound telephone call training in real time with real prospects, okay? We navigate the gatekeeper 92% of the time. We usually do about 77% to appointment. We get same-day return phone calls because using the phone is a skill. It's not an attitude. And so I'm going to give you some tips on that today.
All right. We're going to get to that and how to expand your business by using some contrarian ideas. We're going to cover that in a few minutes. Before we do, I want to hear more about your background. I know we met like 20 plus years ago, but give us folks a little bit of background on, from birth to now in 5 minutes.
I'll get into, I grew up in an Italian family and I worked construction and concrete because all Italians work in concrete sometime in their life. And then I got into, after construction, I got into coaching football for 20 years, 10 years high school, 10 years college, kept getting fired. So we were broke, busted, and disgusted and decided, you know what? Joe Pici needed to go out and sell. So I started selling part-time. I didn't know anything about it. I read books. I went to seminars. I looked for gurus. And I saw some things that were missing in the world of training. It had gotten more to be motivational and more strategic, which is great. But I knew there were some skills. So after about 20 years of hitting the streets and selling, without credibility, my wife and I decided to open up a speaking, coaching, training, consulting industry. We were keynote speakers for a long time. We kind of walked off the keynote stage for a while. And we wanted to be the best tactical consultative sales trainers in America. And so for the past 25 years, I'm old. For the past 25 years, we have worked with small, medium, and large companies, individuals. We have a B2B market, a B2C market. And our focus is on consultative sales.
Nice. I love that. So we're going to get into your some of the non-negotiables you mentioned before in a moment. Before we do, I want to hear about like a success story with a small or a medium-sized B2B company you've worked with. Can you give me a scene of like, hey, here's where they were, here's where we got them?
You know, we have worked in so many companies. And the one thing I'll tell you is companies like us, because we're going to make the phone calls in real time, their investment is covered before we leave. So about 20 years ago, I cold called a rent-to-own business. Didn't know anything about it. Okay. Cold called the CEO owner, drove to Tampa, did a 15-minute meeting, and he said, Joe, we really don't use the phone. We're more of a retail store. And I said, what if we added the outbound call to bring more foot traffic? Well, we did. In 1 year, we grew, and it's a franchise. There are over 150 stores around the nation now. At that point, they had 50. But in 1 year, we grew that company by 79%. Using the phone to bring in foot traffic. And I also have an expertise in consultative collections. So if you know anything about rent to own, you sell it, but then you got to get them to pay it. And so that
Yeah.
was a great success story, actually
Wow.
17 years ago, and I still have them as clients.
Oh, wow, that's tremendous. What was the average ticket for something like that? What were they dialing someone for a what's the average lifetime value of a client when they're doing that?
I don't know because I've done a lot for them.
Mhm.
It started out with 1 day intensives, okay? And then it went to a Monday we would do sales, a Tuesday we
Right.
would do collections. I've
Yeah.
done keynotes at their national convention. So
Uh-huh.
over the course of years, we have, in fact, we're getting ready to work with them again in a couple weeks.
Nice.
So, I don't count how much they're worth. All I know is we keep working with them, and
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
I mean more about their customers. You're training these salespeople to call for the rent to own thing. Or is it like what's the ticket that they're
Okay, there's a rent to own that they sell tires and wheels. So they're selling very high end tires. This is R&R Tire Express. That's who they are.
okay?
They're national, okay, and they're incredible. They're always listed in the top of the top as far as in the rent to own industry. So their tires are top brand tires, and their wheels are. But because it's rent to own, it allows people to put safe quality tires
Hmm.
on their car with affordable payment options.
Huh. Interesting. I never thought you could rent to own a set of tires for your car.
20% of the population needs tires every day. It's recession proof.
Amazing. Okay. So we talked before about these non-negotiables, and I'm curious about that term, number one. And number three, I know there's 8 of them. We only have time to go through like half of them, but what do you mean by non-negotiables when it comes to sales?
Non negotiables are things you should negotiate with. These are tried and practiced skills and strategies that you just
Hmm.
have to do. Now, the one thing I will tell you is I'm still selling. We eat what we kill here at
Hmm.
Pici and Pici.
Yep.
And I don't believe I could teach live outbound calls if I didn't make them myself.
Right.
So I'm going to give you 4 of the 8. And
Okay.
and this has gotten us through every bad economy. We're in a bad economy right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember during COVID, the first year of COVID, we grew 20%. Second year of COVID, we grew 38%
Nice.
because we did these 4 things. Number one, every day that you're working, I don't know if you work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, but every day you're working, you should spend X amount of time on lead generation.
Yep.
Okay. We have 20 ways we generate leads. However, the worse the economy, the less ways we generate lead and we
Hmm.
tighten the belt. So
Hmm.
we stay focused. Our number one way of generating quality leads is utilizing LinkedIn. Okay. And we have a lot of ways that we're able to get phone numbers, pick up the phone, and make the call.
Right.
So you want to spend time every day on generating prospect leads,
Hmm.
which fills up the top of the funnel.
Yep.
The second non negotiable is the outbound telephone call with value propositions. I
Yeah.
gave you one a couple minutes ago when I said they sell safe quality tires with affordable payment options.
Hmm.
That's what's in it for the client. So in our training, we craft value propositions that open every door.
Yeah.
So you want to make X amount of calls every day you're working. And if you're like me, when you're training, when everybody goes to lunch, I'm making my calls.
That's right.
To make those calls consistently, you want to get into time blocking. And that's
Hmm.
something we teach people on how to do blocks of time.
Yeah.
The third one, and this one is really the one that will help you evaluate the growth of your business the most. We call them core stories. You may call them sales meetings.
Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
your initial meeting that you're starting the sales process, okay, where the client or prospect is doing 80% of the talking.
Right.
Great salespeople ask questions. That gets it started. And so you want to keep track of that because
Mm.
your income is going to be based on how many quality core stories or sales meetings you do every 30 days.
Right.
The fourth one is priority and time management.
Hmm.
Remember, I didn't say time management, I meant
Yeah.
priority and time management. Listing from top to bottom the highest revenue producing activities versus the
Hmm.
lowest and staying in the highs. You do those 4 things, you will weather every financial storm.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to get all 8 of them. But for today, I want to ask some questions about a couple of things that come to mind. Number one, in terms of the phone, right? I mean, my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I've picked up a number I didn't know, but it's probably like on one hand, the past 3 years, I haven't hardly ever picked up a number I didn't recognize. So how do you get around that? How do you get people to actually pick up the phone or get the number, number one, and then actually pick up?
Number one, you can't get anybody to do anything on the other side of the phone. How you get an effective phone call when people may be adverse to picking up the phone that they don't know the number is in the message you leave on their voicemail. We have a very high percentage of callbacks because we leave a great message.
Yeah.
So everything is about messaging. We have a great script for gatekeepers. We believe in scripting everything when it comes to the phone. And I talked to a CEO the other day and he goes, my people don't like scripting. And I said, the best actors in the world are Italian. When you look at Stallone and Pacino, all those guys, and they're all scripted, but they know their scripts so well.
Yeah.
So I believe the phone is the most effective tool in sales today.
I love that. So the message you leave is callbacks. That's a great answer. I love that. I'm sure you've read the book Selling to Vito by another Italian.
No, you actually haven't hit that one yet.
Oh my gosh. All right. So he talks about that selling to Vito, very important top officer, Tony Parinello. And he talks about that issue. Like, how do you message somebody and call them when they don't pick up?
Right.
And it's the same thing you says his script on the call, if they pick up, is almost identical to the voicemail because it's so well dialed in about how he positions things. A little takeaway in the middle of the second sentence. He's very, very strategic on that. So I'm not sure if you want to divulge any of your tactics there or not, but we'd love to hear it if you can.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to give a couple gifts at the end where some of these secrets will be. So if they go to the gift that won't cost them anything, they're going to pick up some valuable tips about this stuff.
All right. Well, so tell me now, and then we'll also mention again in a few minutes when we close up. Where should we go?
Okay. Number one, we have our own podcast. Comes out every Tuesday. We're up to 455. It's called The Sales Edge. One word. It's on all the podcast hosts. Number two, if they will take out their phone and put in the message box one word, Sales Edge. And they want to text it to 59925. 59925. That'll come to a Pici and Pici link. Hit it, it'll take you to a splash page. Tons of free stuff, free webinars, all on sales with secrets. Third thing they could do, they can go on our second business, which is our virtual business. It's called sellmorevirtually.com. All one word. The first thing that's going to pop up is a free 45-minute webinar on sales. Okay. The fourth gift I'm going to give them is anytime you want to pick up the phone and call me at 407-947-2590 for a complimentary cup of Joe, I promise I won't sell you. I'll answer your question. How about that?
I love it. This is why I love having you on the show. It's your second time, of course, and the value you can get here is tremendous. Thank you so much for those gifts. We can mention them again when we're all done here. So we got the cool story with the rent-to-own tires. I haven't heard about that. What about the biggest challenges? What's the biggest challenges you've seen and experienced with helping businesses, get into this of actually going back to the old school stuff?
It's a great question. First of all, because we have a B2B business and a B2C business, our 3-day sales boot camp, that's the one that's ranked number one in the world, on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of October here in Orlando. I have a few seats left. It's easy to train those people. They're paying their own way. They come hungry. They desire. They don't have to be there. They get on airplanes. They come from all over the country, right? When you walk into a corporation and you're doing sales training, number one, you have to be able to navigate the sales manager who's being paid. And if he was doing his job, you wouldn't be hired. So you have to be very careful how you handle that one.
Yeah, of course.
The second thing is you have to ask that person to walk out of the room so you can set the stage and let these people know if they listen to you and execute what you're going to do, you'll get them out of there early.
Hmm.
Now, there'll be a certain percentage of people that are hungry, humble, and persistent and want it. But then
Right.
there's going to be the naysayers. There's going to be people that are sitting back because they know it all.
Mhm.
What happens is when we get on the phone, it catches fire. When we don't do a role play, we do a real play, and they see their peers booking real appointments, all of a sudden they engage. So we
Mm.
have a very high engagement area because we get them to do something.
Yeah. I love that. Role playing versus real playing, right? Because you can role play it to your blue in the face, but it's like paper trading. Everything changes when there's real people or real money on the table, right?
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's a big difference. So when you've actually worked with companies, though, I'm looking for a specific story of a company that was like your biggest challenge. They couldn't get on the game, and what was the biggest
I'll
hurdle
give
you had
you
to
one. I'll
overcome?
tell you what's lacking in corporate America today is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Companies are afraid to hold their people accountable. So
Yeah.
2 years ago, I went into a trucking firm and I had met with the two partners to prep them for what was
Hmm.
coming.
Right.
Okay. And I actually said, for no fee, let me meet your sales team.
Hmm.
To which they said, it's not necessary. Right.
Okay.
Right. They'll be here. You just need to train them. You don't need to meet them before the training.
Mm,
So I walk in and I'm an old guy. I've been doing this a long time. I
yeah.
can read a room. And I'm telling you, they
Like
fought
this.
me emotionally for one reason. They weren't afraid of the phone. We fixed that.
Yeah.
They didn't want to work. They were lazy. They were hiding behind mass emails, telling their boss they reached out to 80 people that day.
Right.
When the training was over, they left. The two owners came in because it was a kind of a hybrid, live and virtual. They
Okay.
had some people that had to be back at the office to
Sure.
hold down the fort and had to be on the phone over there. And then we had the live ones, and we had one of them owls in the middle. And so when it was over, the two owners walked in. We closed the door and said, "What do you say?" I said, they'll all be gone in 60 days. You just wasted a whole lot of money. Oh, no, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. 45 days later, they're all gone. They are
Because
all gone. See, the one thing we never factor in, we always say people are afraid of the phone. People don't like the phone. People, whatever. There's just a lot of lazy people out there. A lot of people get into sales because they think, well, you know what? I'll go out, I'll stop at Panera about 10 o'clock, I'll have an hour and a half lunch. If you're going to make it as a business owner, or if you're going to make it in the world of sales, you're going to work your butt off.
hmm
It pays very well when you work hard,
right.
but it pays nothing when you don't.
So these all people left because you put like accountability things in place, or what?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I believe I'm on a radio show on Friday, and the topic is what's happened to the workforce in America.
Right.
Okay, and
Yeah.
one of the biggest challenges my clients have, all clients have, is finding quality people that will work. Well, one of the problems is no one holds people accountable.
Hmm.
So when I go into a company, I'm talking to the people who are hiring me about let's set up metrics.
Yep.
I have a thing called a focus board, and that focus board tracks everything.
Hmm.
And so they are forced to track their numbers.
Yep.
Okay. And so numbers don't lie. People say I'm great at sales. I ask them, how are your numbers? Well, they're not very good. Then you're not good at sales. I mean, sales is measurable.
Hmm.
So when you measure things and hold people accountable for their activities, We help them put those things in place.
Right. You know, it's funny about the accountability and the laziness thing. I'm smiling because I'm reflecting on the people I've met in my life, and sometimes I get lazy too. I'm not immune to it, right? But having that cadence and having those time blocks, that always fixes it for me. Whenever I get in a funk, I'm just block out the time and do it. Um, what about a smaller organization? Somebody who's like remote workers. Do you have anything to help them out to help the people be self motivated?
Yeah, you know what? I'm doing a lot of coaching and training now
Yeah.
because the world went remote.
Right.
Okay. And it's hard to hold people accountable without putting certain things on their software, which is like the FBI or something.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I help the managers or the owners measure their activity and results. So when you're dealing with a virtual sales team, the only thing you can measure is results
Yeah.
because you can't see them working.
Hmm.
And see, something was lost when in sales, salespeople they're just they like competing.
Hmm.
They like a buzz.
Yep.
And I'm not talking just about call centers. There's a lot of companies, forget just call centers. I work
Hmm.
with those too. But they create a buzz because people are on the phone or they're closing deals. And
Yeah.
when people got furloughed and then stayed home, very few people can work from home.
Yep.
It takes incredible discipline.
Hmm.
Okay. The refrigerator's there, the TV is, I mean, it really
Yep.
takes incredible discipline. So not everybody's geared for that. So when
Hmm.
I'm working with virtual people, and I'm doing virtual training,
Yeah.
but what I won't do, I will not do live outbound calls virtually because that would change my numbers. When it comes to live outbound, we are measured in that room that day
Yep.
on how many appointments really happen, how many deals really get closed. Because I'm not making the calls, they are.
Yeah.
All right. And so every time I go out to do it, I'm being measured by their results.
Hmm.
That means I'm going to call the way the game is played. I'm not going to sign a contract that I don't get to control how they're trained or I can't win and then they won't hire me back.
Right. Right. Good advice. Good advice. I've always said to people I talk to, I said, you know what, volume kind of cures everything. You know, if you got enough people to talk to and you're doing the work, you
Right.
can make mistakes. Doesn't matter. You can have someone, yeah. But
Absolutely.
if I think I've seen a lot of people where like the lead flow is if it's low, then they get needy for that next deal, and that changes the energy of the
Yeah.
call and the dynamic. It's like, oh, that guy's too needy. Probably is not good, right? But if a little takeaway, hey, if it sounds good to you, I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
It tends to work better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like putting a lot of emphasis on that volume thing. It kind of helps. What's the most unusual company you've worked with?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, renting tires is probably their mind brain, but maybe you got
That's
something crazier.
that's a big one.
Yeah,
But I mean, I've gone into because 80% of our training is tactical, skill based,
yeah,
and it's about mastering the skills of going and get business. We work in all industries.
yeah,
Okay, we do. And the common denominator is a company has decided we need to go after the business instead of waiting for it.
yeah.
Well, one of the biggest challenges was I worked with a company that was all inbound sales.
Okay,
And the fractional new CEO decided we need to take some of our salespeople and they need to learn how to go outbound. We've got all these leads, we're
yeah,
doing nothing with them.
okay,
So it's really funny because I was competing against some of the biggest sales training companies in America,
mm-hmm.
right? And we're not a big company. And so the defining moment was when I said to that CEO, are any of the other people you're talking to going to do the live outbound calls? He said, no, most of their stuff is virtual video.
Yep.
I said, can you get any of them on the phone? Do any of them return your phone call? He said, no. I said, what's your number one desire? He said, I want my people to master the outbound call, booking appointments, closing business on the phone. I said, what do I do? He said, send me the contract. For which we wound up, instead of me going there, he brought a number of his people into our boot camp.
Okay.
All right. And they all got appointments. It was a change in culture for that company.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great story, man. The competitive environment with big companies. I'm like, well, how did you, other than that fact, you give out your phone number and you are such good a communicator. I see that even scheduling this podcast interview, you've been over communicating, which I love. I'm thinking about these, did you know what the trigger points were before you asked those questions, or you just
Okay,
did
here's
it
the thing.
intuitively?
When I sell,
Yeah.
I lead with a value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I wanted to sell you my business of speaking, training, coaching boot camp,
Right.
right? And I see you on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you some secret sauce here. Stay with me because I'm going to give you some free coaching. The
Thank
first
you.
thing I do, you have the paid version. I go look at your profile, which means you go look at mine.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
immediately say, thanks for viewing my profile. Let's connect.
Mm-hmm.
You connect with me,
Yeah.
right? I hunt your phone number down. I pick up the phone, ring, 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 answer the phone. You're
Oh,
going to,
hi, it's Doug. How can I help you?
hey, Doug, my name is Joe Pici of Pici and Pici. Did I catch you at a bad time?
No, it's fine.
We just connected on LinkedIn. I see you are a speaker, coach, trainer, podcaster.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
We specialize in helping speakers, coaches, trainers, and consultants and podcasters generate income with their talent and intellectual property.
Mm-hmm. Great. How do you do that?
Would it be worth 15 minutes for me to show you how you could monetize your talent? And now I'm in my sales meeting. We're
Right.
either going to do it right now or next Tuesday.
Yep. Love it.
That's my process to get to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
In the meeting, I'm asking questions.
Right.
And so by the time I get done asking questions, I know what your concerns are, what your desired results are, and what your timeline is.
Mm-hmm. Pretty standard stuff.
I just
right?
gave secret sauce away right there.
The secret sauce, Joe, quite frankly, in my book, is like you're one of the few people that actually like meet somebody online, then picks up the telephone.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
if people had the balls to do that, they would do so much better, right?
I know. I agree.
It's pretty simple. So that's probably a good secret sauce there. Man, we definitely want to do this again. I always learn so much when we chat. So let's give out your information again and get people some of the stuff you offered, and
Sure.
wrap it up here.
Right. First of all, go visit our website, which is PICIANDPICI.com. So there's a lot of free downloads.
It's right below here.
Second thing, what I want you to do is take out your phone and go into your phone and type the word Sales Edge, one word, in the message box. If it breaks up, put quotes around it.
Yeah.
Send that to 59925. Text it.
Yep.
It's going to take you to a Pici and Pici link. Hit the link. It'll take you to a splash page.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of free downloads, free webinars. It's all yours. Next thing is go to our second business, sellmorevirtually.com. All one word. First thing that's going to pop up is a 45-minute complimentary free webinar.
Love it.
And just then you can peruse the rest of the site. You can also call me at 407-947-2590, and we'll have a complimentary cup of Joe. And
love it.
If any of you ever have a question about sales, business development, just pick up the phone.
Perfect. Joe, man, thank you so much for being on the show. So I appreciate it. Folks, there's a bunch of links down here. Take advantage of this wisdom and get on the phone and call Joe or call your next customer. Do something. Don't just sit around and pretend that you're magically going to make more sales. So I appreciate the show today, Joe. Thank you.